If things are not to your liking, do you dare to redo them? Do you dare to say, okay, I can do better, so let's step up to the plate? Well, in my case, I did. So a couple of weeks ago, I did this challenge, to rewrite your inner story challenge. And maybe you've seen the title, but something has been added, 2.0. And why was that? Because I wasn't happy with how things were going. And it was both on my end and also on the other end. Now, some things still haven't been changed. I still don't have the link yet to actually register, although I always tell people just say I'm in. But what I did do today, well, actually, I've set up a whole plan which shows day by day what we are going to talk about. Unfortunately, it's on the other side of the room. And when I done so, I was like, I want a roadmap. And never mind the colors because my printer's out of ink. But this is the roadmap. And actually, it took me a little while to get to what am I going to put in that roadmap and what am I not going to put in there. So I'm one of those people who loves to put way too many things in a document. And well, the roadmap is to guide you from one point to another. And here I was basically trying to explain the whole thing in there. So it started with, okay, let's do a handout, which made sense. And then the handout became quickly more than 2 pages, and then more than 4 pages, and more than 6. And I was like, oh, how about the roadmap? So I made a resemblance, a comparison with a different kind of framework handout. And once I'd done so, it was way easier to actually go there and do the things the way I wanted to. So this one is a bit of the inspiration for me. I know she wasn't visible, but yes. So here I was wondering, okay, how am I going to do this, and what's going to change compared to the previous time? Now, first of all, again, this thing. And in case you cannot read it, it gets into the dreams and goals, beliefs, habits, the inner kit. So this is the first part, the inner kit. And this one is about letting go. And then it goes into the other side, and then we add the inner champ too. So it's about releasing the old and stepping into the new. And why is that so important? So first of all, let's start with saying what we talk about when I talk about the inner story. Now, those who have heard me before, they know that the inner story is about what are we telling ourselves. Now, I'll honestly say there have been quite a few times, even today, that I was like, what am I sharing with myself at the moment? Because for some reason, this is not going the way it should. And fortunately, I use Brendan AI to talk to. So that's the artificial intelligence version of Brendan Burchard. And well, since Brendan is a coach, a CHPC coach, as am I, well, I've been trained by Brendan and his staff. And well, it was like, okay, I can do this. And it's not about the lack of motivation. And the thing is that when I want to do something, I'll go do it. And even if that means that I have to do a 2.0, then I'll do that too. So, as you may have noticed, 2.0 is actually out there. It's being done at the moment. Here's the thing, and I always struggle with this part. I never know when I'm too tired to do certain things because I can be tired quite quickly. But here's the thing. I also know that I'm very good at summoning the energy. And then, of course, it's a little bit between, am I going to give in and not do it, or am I not going to give in? So you might have noticed that my Friday Night Live actually has shifted lately to Sunday Night Live. So depending on where you are in the world, it might be Monday or it might still be Sunday. And for me, it's okay. I said I was going to do it. I am going to do it. And so I'm doing it. So if I'm not succeeding on doing it on Friday night, then let me do it at least on Sunday night. So here I am and I am doing it. So, and I guess that's at the basis of all of it. When we talk about the inner story, the question is, do we believe ourselves? Do we believe what we are telling ourselves? And if we say we are going to show up, are we going to show up? Or are we canceling when it comes down to it? Well, my intention and my plan was to show up. And like I said, I haven't skipped. It's more that I delayed it. But, at some point it's like, okay, this is the last moment that I can actually do it. So let's go do it. But there was one thing that I really, really, really wanted to get done. So besides needing the overview of, okay, what is it going to be like? It was like, okay, that roadmap. So, of course, the first question is, what do I want people to get out of the roadmap? And, well, my first reaction will be, I want people to have perspective. I want people to believe that they do have the chance to have a good future. But I also know that there are a lot of people who don't feel heard, seen, and understood. And once they have encountered the negative reactions, the negative response from people, that's when they stop believing that they will be taken seriously. Now, the good news is, being a coach, but also guiding people locally, I have been able to show them like, hey, but you can be taken seriously. And seeing how they are being perceived and the changes, oh, that is so immensely cool. I cannot say anything else, but seeing in their eyes and hearing in their voice that there are changes, that people are taking them seriously. Whoa, that's a big difference. So, of course, it's about reaffirming it over and over and over again. It's, these things, especially when it comes to your inner story, well, they take time. It's one step at a time. And that's why when things were a little slow on my end, especially today, I was like, what's going on? Because before I hopped on my bike and went to the supermarket, I was in full flow. And then when I returned back, something had shifted and I still don't know what it is. Might have had to do with some things that I need to do prior to midnight, but it was as if I wasn't feeling it. And what I have learned is that it's so important to go back to the drawing board, just get pencil and paper out there and start scribbling things down. And I was like, okay, so I had this example and I was like, okay, so how much is actually on the example? Oh, actually not that much. Okay, so what do I want my roadmap to look like? And so I ended up with this overview. And, well, let me tell you a little bit about what it says. So this is the site which says release the old version. So it gets into the dreams and the goals. Now, before you say, but the dreams and the goals, everyone has dreams and goals. Well, I wish that were true. Well, I do believe that everyone has dreams and goals, but I also believe that a lot of people have given up on those dreams and goals. And the question is, have you given up on your dreams and goals? So a lot of times I say, why don't you go back to the time that you actually still had those dreams and goals, the ones you can remember? Now, I'll honestly say, I have no clue what I wanted to become when I was a kid. I know I drew a lot, I was writing a lot, I was very creative. Maybe a musician, that could be one of the things. But as for all else, my mom always said, you are going to be a design artist, as in a graphic designer, because I love to draw. So she had this idea for me. And well, as it turned out, the one thing I said I wasn't going to be, that's the one thing I actually started doing, which was working in IT. And why didn't I want to do that? Because my brother and his friend, they were always walking around with this folder under their arms, spending so much time. And well, I did end up in IT, which actually makes sense if you think about it. But back then it was like, no, that's no go. But my dreams and goals nowadays, if I think about it, well, one of the dreams that I have is about showing others, teaching others, guiding others into seeing that they can have perspective again. Now, the good news is that's what I am doing on a daily basis. I love it, especially when I see a positive outcome. And like I said, it's one step at a time, but seeing the change in people and seeing them step up, that's so amazing. I cannot tell you anything else. Now, apparently, it's because I work with people who, if they don't see any perspective, and just think about it for a second, what if you wouldn't have any perspective? Would you go through the motions? Would you do the same thing over and over again? So what is the change between saying, okay, I'm not taken seriously, I'm going to opt out, or, well, it's not my dream, but I get by and, I can do what it is I want to do. And that's probably the difference. So there are different stages of dreams and goals as far as it's about being heard, seen, understood, and living your dream life. So let me ask you, what is your dream life? What do your dreams and goals look like? And has there been a time that you actually said goodbye to those dreams and goals? Maybe you have changed as a person. So I never set out to be a coach. I never set out to be a fitness trainer, a medical fitness trainer, a sports masseuse. None. But as it turns out, it is something that does fit me. And even then, it's my goal to have people feel heard, seen, and understood. And so lately, I have been specializing more in neurodivergence. I've always been so interested in how the brain works. I think it's a marvelous, it's amazing. And we only know this much about what the brain actually can do. But the neuroplasticity and what we can do with it, oh my God, that's so exciting. So when it comes to dreams and goals, the question, of course, is what have we not allowed ourselves to dream of? Why? Or why have we given up on our dreams and goals? So basically, the first 5 questions here have to do with which dreams and goals do you not allow yourself to have? And maybe I should say anymore. And the next question is, what happened? Now, in case you're wondering, but Lexi, where can I find this? Well, then you send me a message so I know who to send it to. And hopefully by the end of this day or tomorrow, there will be a link so you can actually register and sign up. But for those people I know that they want to have it, I'll make sure they can get it, which is, of course, easier when you're on Facebook or on Instagram, for instance. But yes, as soon as I've got the link, I'll go do it. But for me, not having the link was not a good reason not to go ahead. So I was like, I'm just going to do it, even though I still don't have the link. Yes, I know. So, first question, what didn't you allow yourself to dream about anymore? Which goals did you stop having? And then the next question has to do with the part about beliefs. So when we talk about the inner story, it's basically what we tell ourselves. And well, hardly ever that's actually something that we came up with. It's something someone else came up with. And, sometimes we need someone to say something once. They won't remember it anymore, and we are carrying it with us for the rest of our lives, day in, day out, maybe like every hour. And well, don't you think it would be freedom if we could say, you know what, I'm done with that part. I'm going to go for what I believe in. So first of all, we need to figure out what beliefs are holding us back. And well, for me, being a perfectionist, I had to learn to embrace progress over perfection. So what I did in the last couple of weeks, I've been sharing about the challenge. I actually went live and a number of days in a row on Instagram. So for the original version, I actually went live. I went out there. But like I said, this is different. This is the stepped up version, the improved version. And I was like, okay, so what am I going to change? What is it going to look like? And then, of course, the question is always there. Like, but are people interested so shortly after the other one in a new version? And we can wonder, is that relevant? Is it relevant if others are interested? Or is this about me and me saying, okay, I need to step up to the plate. I need to do a better job. So I am going to do a better job. So it's easy to get in a situation where you are like, well, never mind, I'm not going to do it. And then you can wonder, will you ever do it? It's like when I talked about when I go live for my Friday Night Live. I know when I used to do it, and then something's changed in my life, and I started pushing it back. But I have one rule: it has to be done within the weekend. So I didn't derail from that one. Been there, done that, stop doing it altogether. That's not going to happen this time around. So when you don't do something, and the question, of course, is what are you telling yourself? And that might be one of the hardest things to actually figure out. But at some point when you're really frustrated, I can tell you, you are bound to come up with those answers, with those thoughts about what you are telling yourself. But then the question is, of course, but did you come up with it or did someone else come up with it? And that could be someone from school, could be your fellow students, could be your parents, could be something that's assumed. But it's important that you figure out what is that belief, where does it come from, and what do you keep repeating to yourself. So here's the thing, and I learned this years ago, and I thought that was very interesting. So when it comes to affirmations, if we have affirmations, then what do? We usually use them like once a day, like I'm happy, I'm smiling, I'm joyful. So when we want to change the narrative, we only say it like maybe once, maybe twice a day. But then there's the chatterbox in your mind. Yeah, that's not going to happen. See, you're grumpy again. You're not doing it. By the way, I'm not saying that I'm grumpy all the time, because I'm not. But I can be very serious. But yes, the idea behind it is, if you don't believe in yourself, that you're probably going to say this is going to fail. Now, I'm going to give you an example of something that happened just recently. So, for those who have followed my Instagram account, they might have noticed there were some pictures on there. They were hidden. You had to scroll through the post in order to see it, but it was of sea sparkle. So I'm fortunate enough to have a friend who loves it just as much as I do to go to the beach. Depending on where we are going and where I am and how much she's done, I'll pick her up or not. This time around, I said, I'll be picking you up, because I didn't want her to go home very late at night on her bike. So I was like, when it's nearby, I'm like, okay. Although both beaches are nearby for her, so it doesn't really matter if we go to the left one or the right one. The left one being Kijkduin and the right one being Scheveningen Beach. So most people who are from out of town, they know Scheveningen. They don't know Kijkduin. So years ago, I discovered something called sea sparkle. I'm not sure if I read about it in a newspaper. I think I did, actually. And then I was like, oh, that's cool, sea sparkle. So as it turns out, you need a pretty good camera to actually be able to capture sea sparkle. So when I got this phone, it has night vision on the back, multiple lenses. And I was like, yes. Before that, I used an app which allowed me to actually use a longer time to open up the lens. And I also tried using the camera, getting my tripod to the beach and using the camera. And I quickly figured out that the lens I was having wasn't working good enough. The one I have nowadays should actually be working. But like I said, the phone actually, well, it makes some good pictures too. So what happens is, usually when the temperature is right, there's not too much wind, there hasn't been any rain, that's when we have sea sparkle. And we don't have that many days in the year that the temperature is actually right. But my friend said, look, I think that's sea sparkle. And I looked at it and I was like, yes, that's sea sparkle. So before she could say anything, I was off. I took my phone with me and I started taking pictures. Now, I was under the impression that it would be there, in the next few hours still. It's something that starts to disappear by morning. So I went there, took videos, shot pictures, and then I wanted to leave, and I was like, no. And I made another series of pictures, and it was magical to watch. The waves would come in, and then other waves would come and pick up on it, and it would move on. It was absolutely magical to see. Absolutely. Now, when I got back to the terrace, I said to some ladies who were sitting behind us, you need to see that there's sea sparkle. And I showed them the video and they came back, no sea sparkle. So my friend said, no sea sparkle. See, every time I want to see it, it's not there. Now, I am a night owl. So for me, it's kind of easy to actually say, okay, let's go out there at night and go do it. But if you're not a night owl and you want to sleep, then chances are that you're not going to watch sea sparkle at night because it needs to be dark in order to see it. So she was disappointed, said, no, this is not going to happen. And I was like, well, you'll just wait and see. And that's the difference when it comes to beliefs. So at some point, it was a little bit visible, but I saw on the app I was using that in a different location, it was visible too. So we decided to go to the different location, and on the way over, she said, well, you'll see it won't be there, and and it was like, well, let's give it a chance. We're going to go there and we'll see what's going to happen. I mean, it's night, you're awake, let's go see it. And I was actually absolutely trusting that we would see sparkle, and she was the opposite. And remember when we talked about beliefs? What beliefs are you telling yourself? Well, she said, it's not going to happen. And I said, it is, because there is this constant faith in me that things will work out. I don't know where it comes from, but it's there. And usually I'm right. So we were there, and yes, there was sea sparkle, and I actually captured it. So I knew by now where to look. So it's when actually the waves crash into something that actually the sea sparkles ignite. So it's like algae, bacteria, which light up. And so you need to take a peek just across the edge, depending on where you are, of course, to actually be able to see it. But Scheveningen Harbor, that's what you need to do. And yes, we captured the sea sparkle. But here's the thing. The first time you do it, it's not that easy. I had to learn how to do it, which camera to use, all those kind of things. And when you do it for the first time, it can be a bit disappointing. But that doesn't mean it won't work. So it was a little bit like, and I was like, you got it. And otherwise, I can give you the footage that I've got. So how your attitude is and how you turn up makes all the difference. So saying this, I'm going to ask you right now, do you recognize something in this story that you're saying, well, this is not going to work for me? Or are you someone who says, no matter what, I'm going to make it happen? And, that mindset to keep on going, to keep on pushing, that can give you so much. It can bring you so far in life and also in business. So, but it's all up to you. But if you have your dreams and goals, then a certain belief in something is very helpful. Now, besides beliefs, it's also about habits. And I told you a little bit about the habits. So when I started this live, I talked about I never know when I'm going to sleep. I might just shut down, go to sleep. I never know what to expect on my end. And when I'm really sleepy, and I've gone live really sleepy, am I happy with it? No. But, if you want to get it out there and you want to be consistent, it's important that you do. So the question is, what works best? So I'm still sort of experimenting with it, what I can do and actually to improve my energy and to recharge in between, because I'm someone who just keeps on going. And that doesn't always work for the best. Now, when we talk about the whole sea sparkle thing, I'm a night owl, so yeah, I can go there. But if you are not, then it's kind of hard to actually experiment it. So habits also are a big part of where if you're going to succeed or not. Because if your habits do not support what you want to achieve, well, then it can be kind of hard. Now, you also want to know why. The why is always the question. It will always get back to you. Why are you doing the things? Why are you not doing the things? And then you need to keep on asking why. And then you get slowly to what's actually going on in your heart and in your mind. We are going to talk about that during the challenge. Let me put this one there. Yes, I'm working with lights. I got told to work with lights. So I need to recharge this one. So the why, we need to know why we can actually push ourselves or why we stop pushing ourselves at some point, one or another. So I'm looking away from the screen for a moment because I'm like, let's recharge this one, because if something happens, then lights will be off altogether, and that's not going to make much sense. So I don't think this. Oh, look at that. This is cool. I didn't know. So it can charge and show the light. That's awesome. So except for this orange, well, if you're wondering what it is, that's the charging cable. Can't do too much about it. It's live, right? So I'm actually kind of glad that the light is working. Maybe I can do it like this. See, that works too. So this is one of those things where I could have said, well, give up because it doesn't work straight away, or the cable's visible, or you can say, this is live. Who cares? It's fun. Let's go do it. That's what I chose to do. Now, there's another aspect, and I talked to someone else about it, and it has to do with the inner kid. So every time you wonder, why is there a rabbit visible? Well, that's a jumping bunny. She's actually Duracell bunny, but it's a nickname of mine, jumping bunny. And jumping bunny keeps on going and going and going. So actually, as my inner kid, she does recharge a lot, and she does things, she gets really excited, and then it's it. You know what? I am going to sleep. So it's a way to actually cope with certain things that are going on in your mind. The way to process things is by sleeping. And what's the one thing we don't do when something is on our mind? Sleep. Well, she's the smart one. She goes to sleep. But here's the thing. When we want... No, let me rephrase that. The question is, do we want to hear and listen to what our inner kid is telling us? So when our inner kid is telling us, no, 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 I don't want this, or I am too tired, are we listening to the inner kid? If the inner kid is warning us because of things that have been experienced, or the inner kid tells you about the dreams and goals, do we ignore the inner kid? Do we push it away? Or are we willing to listen to the inner kid? And that's one of those questions that you really want to ask yourself, like, hey, do I suppress that inner voice or don't I? Now, the good news is I also have the other side, which is about your roadmap to freedom. So it's called Stepping into Freedom. And it gets into the question about dreams and goals. Instead of asking, what didn't you allow for yourself? It's about what would you like to allow for yourself? Which dreams and goals would you like to have and would you like to experience? Now, I know that a lot of people go back and forth like, oh, I did this once, I'm going to do it again. Oh, I'm not succeeding, I'm going to quit doing it. Or they reach the first level and then they stop doing it altogether. And that's a shame because once we have proven to ourselves that it's possible, but due to circumstances, things don't work out for a while, does that mean that we have to give up? Or can we say, let's allow ourselves to dream? And yes, then we get back to those beliefs. Remember, we don't want limiting beliefs anymore. Now, I've got this amazing script which is going to help you to change the negative to the positive. It's not included in this one, but if you do participate in the challenge, then you will have access to it. I will explain a little bit about it and it will be sent to you. But yeah, you do have to sign up and register in order to be able to actually get it. So the question is, what beliefs do you need to let go of? And what beliefs do you need to adopt? Now, just like habits, because the next question is going to be about habits, it's hard to change that. So Mel Robbins at some point had the high five challenge and was like, hey, hello, I love you, you're good enough. And lots of people don't dare to do that. They don't dare to stare in front of the mirror and high five themselves. So when she came up with the challenge, I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. And the question is, how many people who actually participated are still doing it? Is it worth the while? Do they keep on going? Is it like, well, been there, done that, was a lot of work? Is it the day-to-day things which get the better of you? So, for instance, some of you may have noticed that in January, February, there was this challenge done by one. Now, as much as I love the idea done by one, and I actually could totally understand what it was about, it didn't quite work well with me being a night owl. So when done by one was done, well, actually during the challenge, a lot of times it was actually done by one, but it was more like at night. And then it would be done by one in the afternoon. But there was a little bit of struggle with it. And then I got this temporary guest. It was a cat called Billy, and then everything went haywire. And that's the thing. So when we adopt a habit, do we keep on going or do we stop doing it? Now, for me, usually I know what I want to work on. And I give myself the opportunity to actually change some things, to reschedule some things. But there are a number of fixed things, like going to the physical therapist, for instance. And every once in a while, I skip it because I'm just basically too tired. But especially on Tuesday, I will practically always go there, except for last week, I didn't go there. Some things didn't work out. I was in an argument and didn't sleep very well. So I was shaking when I woke up. And when I'm shaking, I know I throw everything around. I'm not coordinated. So I was like, nope. And well, on Tuesday, after the physical therapist, I normally pick up the kids from a friend at daycare. And then we we might do some homework together or play Pokemon. I eat dinner over there, and then I talk on with their mom. We talk on about a lot of things. So basically, she's my accountability partner. That's kind of amazing. And well, I did show up. It was just a little bit later. But it's one of those things that this is a habit that's there. And it's not normal for me to actually not go there. It's too important not to go there. So since I didn't go on Tuesday, I had to go on Friday. There was no question about it. I wasn't certain if they, because I knew that the regular physical therapist wouldn't be there, and normally she reschedules it. So I can go, and there's another one there who can work with me just as well. And I didn't know actually until it was like in the afternoon already. And then I was like, oh, I do have an appointment. So yeah, I was very happy about that. But, habits, it's like, does it fit your schedule? And so you really want to think about those habits. And when they don't work out straight away, then what does work for you? And well, sometimes it needs some rescheduling. Like right now, the Friday Night Live has moved on to become a Sunday Night Live. And I'm not sure how it's going to work out. I'm still trying to find the pattern. But it's about allowing yourself grace to actually find that pattern. So when we talk about beliefs, again, it's about how often do you actually repeat those beliefs to yourself. So earlier tonight, when I noticed that it was when I went to the grocery store and then I got back, I noticed I wasn't in the mood anymore to do a lot of things. And I was in a flow. Then I realized I need to go there before everything closes. And then it was over and done with. But I also knew how important it was. And I could actually see and visualize the end results. And I was like, no, I need to do it. I need to go and move on. So one of the things I always say is find support. Go talk to someone. So in this case, it's so convenient. You have an artificial intelligence to be able to talk to. So I consulted on artificial intelligence, like, okay, this is not going the way I wanted to. And then it said, but you're showing up, which is true. I was. And sometimes it's about taking that first step to get back into the groove, to get back into the rhythm, even when it's a new rhythm. So when it comes to beliefs and habits, it's really important to figure out what's going to help you to support your beliefs, but also your dreams and your goals. So you can wonder, is it the belief which comes first or the habit? The habit is about doing it. So by doing it, you show yourself that you can actually trust that things work out. But yes, you want to trust first that things work out so you can actually, or you are going to do it. It's a little bit of like the chicken and the egg. Which one came first? So now we get back to the inner kid. But before we do, I'm going to ask you, which beliefs do you have or would you like to have? Which habits would you like to have? What can you start doing right now? So in case you haven't written down yet what you want to let go of, then maybe this is the time to actually start thinking, or you just write me a message, I'm in. And again, if you do so on YouTube, that's not going to work because I don't know who you are. But if you do it on Instagram or on Facebook, then I can reach out to you and I can send you the link or I can send you the handout. So The question remains, what can you do right now? How can you make a difference for yourself right now? Because it's nice to postpone things, but do you actually do them when you postpone it? There are only a few people out there who actually can say, I'm going to do it later on, and they actually do it later on. I mean, I can understand that there are circumstances that you cannot do it at that moment. And, when it comes to jumping bunny, she'll keep jumping until the moment is there to actually go do it. So that's one of the reasons that I tend to give in every now and then. And I'll just say, you know what, I'm going to park the car where it's responsible, and then I'm going to do it. But that's not always possible, right? Now, talking about the inner kid, let's go to the next one, which is instead of not listening to your inner kid, let's do the opposite. And that's, how can and will you start protecting your inner kid? Now, the whole idea behind rewriting your inner story is that our inner kid, so literally when we were growing up, that version probably wasn't protected. Maybe there was bullying going on. Maybe it was something that the environment said at school, parents, something emotional that happened. Could be later on in life too. But when I talk about jumping bunny as the adopted inner kid, I can influence this whole process because I wasn't a kid when Jumping Bunny was born. I'm an adult. And even though Jumping Bunny was already there when I was very young, I can make a decision as the present version of myself to actually say, okay, what am I going to do to actually protect her? And you can basically say, what do I want, if you have children, my children to know, and what do I want to shelter them from? So I don't have any children, but I'm a proud auntie of a lot of cousins and nephews, nieces and nephews. And here's the thing. The question becomes, what do you want to share with them? And when are there moments that it's like, I'm not sure if they fully understand? It's a little bit like with the video games. There are a lot of video games where children are killing other people or whatever it is. I mean, with Pac-Man 8, other, well, what do you call them? Were all these little things that he ate, Pac-Man. But when it comes to actually shooting people with a gun, do kids know the difference between it's a game and it's reality? And if they don't, because it takes our brain to develop to maturity to at least 25 years old. So if you know that part, and you know that we still need to develop not just responsibility, but also being able to look at things from different perspectives. So also from the view of another person and not only from yourself. Well, if you know that much, then you know that they might not be considering what's real life and what isn't. And we need to help them to actually realize that. So we want to guide the children. But that also means that we want to guide our inner kid. And wouldn't it be amazing if we would allow ourselves a whole lot more and we would start believing in ourselves? And not just when we talk to someone, but repetitively. That's why it's so important when you do coaching to not do just one coaching session, but to keep doing it like week after week after week, and preferably not for 12 weeks, but continue on, because we need habits to stick. And well, especially when you are having a CHPC coach, we are paid to push, not to listen, but to push. Listen too, of course, but there's more to it. We want you to get active, to get motivated, to start believing in yourself. Now, besides the inner kid and our present self, there's also another version which I call the inner champ. So that's the best version of yourself in the future. That's where the fun begins. Because if we look at our dreams and our goals, and we are going to consider that there actually might be a best future version of ourselves, so that's the one. It's an accumulation basically of what already has happened and what you're doing right now. So there was this one question, and I believe it's so immensely powerful. If you were to ask your future self, what I'm doing right now, is that serving you? And the question would be no, then you might actually change what you're about to do or not going to do. So for me, stability is a very important thing. And my stability is not that good. If I walk down a ramp, it's kind of funny because I'm always saying I'm flying, because that's when I go like this. Because, well, my stability isn't that good, which is the result of not having been able to walk on one foot and one leg altogether. It's still a bit of a problem, my left leg. But I do know that every time I try, that every time I get out there, whether it's with braces, without them, with crutches, walking or on my bike, as long as I keep moving, I'm doing something. So I need to be careful. So over months ago, I decided to go with my braces to the beach. I was only used to going to the beach using my crutches. And well, I paid the price for it. I'm still paying the price for it. And there is a lot of tension in my left leg, which makes it kind of hard to put a lot of support on there. And the other side, of course, is there's always two sides of the coin, that now my right leg has to do too much and it's acting up a little bit too. So yes, I'm using crutches nowadays, but I also noticed that I'm using them less and less. So it's a little bit like when I'm at the cash register, then, you put them somewhere, and then at some point you're at the other side, and it's like, where are they? And people are like, didn't you need your crutches? But, I don't need them like all the time. It's when I go a certain distance or when I stand for a long amount of time. And, you learn so many little tricks, like leaning against the wall, and people don't know that, but, tricks. So the question, does my future version of myself thank me for this? That also has to do with, are we going to watch TV, or are we going to spend that time maybe going outside, getting some fresh air, maybe reading a book, reaching out to someone? Those are all those questions that you can ask yourself. Like, okay, is this actually serving my best future self? Now, here's the thing. And during the challenge, I will most certainly do that. We can talk to our inner kid. We can actually talk on behalf of our inner kid. And here's the thing. We can actually also talk on behalf of our future self, even though we're not there yet. And in order to figure out what we want our inner champ to be like, because I called my inner champ Well, you probably have looked at other people growing up. You might have been a fan of some people. You might have admired certain things. So the next time around that you think like, oh, I would like to be able to do that too. Write it down, write the name down, write the skill down, and figure out what is it that you need to do. And maybe you don't want to be as good as that person, but maybe there's something at the basis that you would like to embrace, that you would like to adopt. And when you find out what it is, then you can start working towards that part. And then we actually get back to the last question. So it's like, how can you support your future champ? And that's something that I want to have you think about right now. So I knew that if I wouldn't get this challenge out there, even especially the 2.0 version, that I probably would tell myself, I can do better than this. So I was like, I can do better than this. So now I'm in the flow anyway. I'm just going to push on. So I gave myself a break for like a week or something. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to continue on. So here I am. And well, in the first 7 days of this month of June, I'll be going live every day. So later on, I'll be going live on Instagram, which should also air to Facebook, if I'm correct. And, you can always ask questions. And like I said, if you actually want this roadmap, then you do need to sign up. And when you sign up, there's a whole bunch of more things that you are actually going to get. So you get access to the videos for like a week. You can see them like for 3 days, and then it's going to shut down unless you actually buy the challenge. But here's the thing, just by watching, and I already put a lot of Instagram lives out there in the previous weeks, but just by going there, watching them, think about it, writing down, there's so much that you can actually learn from it, or better said, it can give you something to think about. Think about what it is that you are telling yourself, what you believe about certain things. And it really has to do with how you look at things. So last week, Cheeky Joe, she was commenting on the live. We've been to Chicago a number of times together. And the first time we did, and we hadn't met up in person before that time. We had spoken on the phone, but we never had met up in person. And when we did, it was late at night at some point, I was like, oh, I'll just walk down the street. I'll go to the grocery store. And she was like, are you crazy? And she heard all these sounds. And she was like, oh, but this is the US and can't be good. And gunshots. And well, I'm used to here. I come from a big city, so I'm not easily spooked. And at some point she changed because she saw me doing certain things. And that's what it's about. What do you see? What do you pick up from others? And what are you going to embrace? What's so important for you that you are willing to change your ways, the way you believe, the way you act, your habits, and to say, okay, I'm going to make that difference. Please think about that. Leave a comment what it is for you. And like I said, if you want in, let me know. Write down, I'm in, especially go to Lady Lexi Speaks Up on Instagram or Lady Lexi Leads or on Facebook, and let me know so I can send you the link. And otherwise, I'll put it in the description later on. But be sure to share this with others and discuss this with others so you can become the best version of yourself working on your dreams and your goals.